Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
And if you want to see a big change and see what's happening in the United States, get called in for jury duty. Last week, I was at jury duty the whole week. Am I the only one going to this stuff? I call my friends, you going? Nah, we shredded. What? So I go 7:30 in the morning, right? 300 people. Right, you sit there in this little room, right? And I don't know, man, we're in trouble as a country. If you want to get a temperature gauge on what society is looking like, go to jury duty. They say it's a jury of your peers. The people there are one step away from being a defendant. Nobody knows how to follow instruction. The guy's up there. It's simple. Name. Okay, name. Right? Address. And people are like, Then he opens it up for questions. Any questions? Worst thing you could do to the general public is start opening up a question session. The hands that shot, this woman's shoulder almost popped off. People love to hear themselves speak. I have a medical condition. Nobody gives a shit. Fill out the form and go to the courtroom. The guy next to me in broken English asked me how to put his name tag into the laminate. And I'm like, you're gonna determine? where somebody goes to prison?
Good morning. It's Saturday, Rules Saturday, November the 1st, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have no free lunch, motivation, meditation, and a new book, How to Manipulate Everyone by the Rogue Hypnotist. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. And now we have There's No Free Lunch, 250 Economic Truths by David Bahnsen.
It is the trend of debt to GDP more than anything else that is disturbing. I mean, the trend is more each year, and as you take more each year, it means you are taking a larger and larger share of the new money in the economy. At some point, that becomes a disincentive to production or a disincentive in the private sector, and the general economy starts to slow down. I think that the rationale for looking at expenses rather than at the deficit is that the expenses are the amount of money that the government is taking out of the private sector. Whether it takes those by taxes or by borrowing them is kind of a secondary matter. The primary matter is how much money is it taking. That's measured by expenditures. Robert L. Bartley. The discovery I had some time back that the size of government relative to the economy was the most important indicator in the economy had a profound impact on me. It explained why the economy has still grown handsomely, even in periods of high deficits, where the percentage of the government within the economy was not growing. The key issue was and is incentives. A larger government, even without deficit spending, crowds out the private sector and ultimately disincentivizes productive activity. A smaller government with deficit spending is less problematic for economic incentives. It is the belief that incentives matter, human action, that forms my view of government spending relative to the size of the economy.
And that was There's No Free Lunch by David Bahnsen. Back in a minute. Thank you. I saw a guy, it looked like he was Hispanic and probably in his 50s, and he was outside the gym, and he was on his way in, and he was having difficulty moving, and I noticed his legs were bow-legged. He was a bow-legged individual. Either he has had rickets, or he spent a lot of time riding horses. Either one is possible. In Mexico, there's a lot of that ranching, and there's a culture, a caballero culture that goes on. But anyways, the point is, it reminded me of how easy it is to fall into a trap in terms of racism. I had a situation once where I was delivering food to a man in Pasadena, and he was also a middle-aged, roughly gentleman. Well, what it was his daughter was the one that was paying for this, and this was going to be his lunch. Well, I was struggling to to make the delivery, and the girl starts getting racist on me. My dad, he works hard for a living, blah, blah, blah. And he goes on and calls me a white trash or white piece of shit or something like that. And so what I said to her was, because I'm now in a false dichotomy, I can either put up with it meekly, like most liberals do. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be a racist asshole. Oh, please don't hurt me. Or get into a fight over it. Maybe even eventually into a fist fight over it. Okay? False dichotomy. So I solved the problem by using the Goldilocks theory. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. And what I came up with, because I understand what she's trying to do, is suggest that her father should be pitied. We should feel sorry for him. And that's my in. That's the weak part of her attack. I simply then switch it over to pride. And I tell her, are you feeling sorry for him? I asked her. Silence. I said, because I'm proud of him. Not because he works hard, because we all work hard. I work hard. You work hard. Everybody works hard. I'm proud of him because he overcame a lot of obstacles to get here. Silence. Dead silence. And that's when I collected my winnings and walked away. I said, have a nice day, and walked away. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Remember, you don't have to fall for a false dichotomy. You can always switch the Goldilocks theory. Not too hot, not too cold, just right. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, rules for retrogrades.
Rule 15.
There is no room for optimists in the retrograde camp. Optimism is voluntary self-deception. It's for this reason that Mark Twain once barbed, "The man who is a pessimist before 48 knows too much. If he is an optimist after it, he knows too little." Times are presently so dire, the fate of the West so truly hangs in the balance, that to survey our predicament with anything less than brutal candor is suicide. Necessity is so often the impetus for reform that if retrogrades are to have any chance of reforging the culture as a true Christian republic, militant optimism about the state of society will have to be jettisoned. Optimism mollifies and reassures. However, one would have to be borderline schizophrenic to assess the present cultural milieu and come away reassured. In the past half-century, we've witnessed, among other things, the universalization of abortion, the redefinition of marriage to include perverse sodomitical unions, the proliferation of drag queen story hours for children at public libraries, the pornographication of movies, television, and music, a mass exodus of mothers of minor-age children out of the home and into the workplace, a divorce rate that has spiked to over 50%, an out-of-wedlock birth rate that has spiked to 40%, a trend toward legalization of euthanasia, a steadily declining birth rate, a pop culture that extols drug use and fornication, the metastasization of the welfare state, the dawn of the age of bi-weekly mass shootings, the steady expansion of the powers of the federal government, the heyday of the regulatory bureaucracy, and the decline of the practice of Christianity. What is there to be optimistic about? Absolutely nothing. The man of acumen should be aghast. The medicine for our age is realism, nothing less. The retrograde must soberly survey the landscape, taking note of past losses and future vulnerabilities. Only then will he be able to begin addressing the crises hovering like albatrosses over the tempest-tossed seas of Western culture. Mod cons have all but succeeded in painting contrived optimism as a requirement for the moral man. It's a way to cast their cowardly refusal to fight necessary battles as a virtue rather than a vice. Don't be fooled. Optimism is every bit as much of an offense against truth as pessimism. It just happens to be better tolerated because it's couched in upbeat diction and because it's mistaken for charity by people of low intelligence. See the world as it is instead of how you want it to be, and you can make it as it ought to be. See the world how you want it to be instead of how it is, and it will remain how it shouldn't be.
And that was Rules for Retrogrades. Rule 15, 40 Tactics to Defeat the Radical Left by Timothy J. and David R. Gordon. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, motivation.
Most of us go through life running scared. Fear is the most subtle and destructive of all human diseases. Fear kills dreams. Fear kills hope. Fear put people in the hospital. Fear can age you. Fear, ladies and gentlemen, can hold you back from doing something that you know within yourself that you're capable of doing, but it will paralyze you. And I ask you a question, what is the benefit? What's the benefit of allowing fear to hold you back? Of giving up on yourself? Of not stepping out on life and taking life on? What is the benefit for you? What's the plus in that? It's one of the things I had to ask myself. So I didn't want to make any mistakes. I wanted everybody to like me. I wanted to be perfect the first time I did something. It's not going to happen. You're going to make some mistakes. You're going to hurt some folks' feelings. You're going to create some enemies whenever you decide that you want to begin to take life on. You've got to ask yourself, how long am I going to allow this to hold me back? Haven't you been afraid to do something and then after you did it, you say, whoa, if I known it was this easy, I would have done it before. Haven't you ever had that experience? Absolutely. So we created this in our minds, false evidence appearing real. We made it real in our minds. Fear ain't real. That's why Churchill said there's nothing to fear but fear itself. That's the destructive monster.
When you have fear, fear makes you count. When you have fear, fear makes you think in ways you shouldn't be thinking. When you have fear, fear makes you speak in a certain way. When you have fear, but when you have faith, you don't need to count. When you have faith, you don't need to go outside. When you have faith, you don't need to see how many horses. When you have faith, you don't need to see how many armies. When you have faith, you don't need to see how many swords. When you have faith, you don't need to count no shields. When you have faith, you don't need to look at the parameter and see how many against. When you have faith, you just believe and it'll happen. Fear, you are not going to stop me. I've come too far to give up now. You got fear and you got faith. And I've decided not to walk in fear, but to walk in faith.
Turn off things that can contribute to your fear. Turn a deaf ear to people that all they can do is talk about how negative things are because they have bought into the consciousness of the world. Start attending workshops, seminars, listening to tapes on a daily basis to begin to recondition your mind, to retrain your thinking. Faith comes by what? Hearing and hearing and hearing. Listen to things that can empower you, that can enable you to create a new reality for yourself, in a new life for yourself. Most people won't do that. Most people won't take that kind of effort and invest that kind of energy in themselves because they will fall prey to that conversation within. Oh, don't do that. You don't have time. You're too busy. You're too caught up in the rat race. Most people won't do that. They won't take time to go to lectures. They won't take time to go to seminars. They won't take time to go to classes to improve themselves. And as you continue to work on yourself, you will begin to expand your vision of yourself. You will begin to work towards self-mastery. When you go through these steps, you might appear to be strange around most people. You ignore all those voices and you prioritize you, taking care of you, focusing on you. You got to.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little meditation.
I used to feel like I was drowning in my own thoughts until I discovered a breathing technique so powerful, so ancient, that it changed the way I handle stress forever. This practice is not just meditation, it's energy transformation. Welcome, beautiful soul. Let's begin with a soft awareness of your body. Sit comfortably or lie down if that feels better. Let your spine be long, shoulders relaxed. If it feels right, gently close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Hold it gently. Now slowly exhale through your mouth. Let's activate your inner calm. This simple variation helps balance the nervous system. Inhale slowly for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale gently for 6. Repeat with me. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let your body drop deeper with every exhale. You are safe. You are supported. Now bring your attention to the base of your spine. As you inhale, imagine a subtle current of light rising up along your spine, from your tailbone to your belly, your chest, your throat, all the way to the point between your eyebrows. Exhale and feel that light dissolve like mist. Do it again. Inhale, energy rising. Exhale, tension dissolving. This is Kriya in action. Energy awakening. Stress dissolving. Now gently place your right hand over your heart, left hand over your belly. Feel the rise and fall. Your body is intelligent. Your breath is medicine. Say softly in your mind, I am calm. I am centered. I release the need to control. Peace lives in me. Now, let these words echo into your being. Now allow all effort to fade. No more breath control. Just be. Listen. Feel the residue of calm spreading through you. Your nervous system is shifting. You are already healing. I carry this peace into the rest of my day. I am aligned. I am free. I am whole. Take one final breath. Wiggle your fingers. Gently open your eyes when you're ready. Welcome back. You've just completed a sacred Kriya. If this meditation brought you peace, imagine what a daily practice could unlock. Come back anytime. Your breath is always waiting to guide you home. Thank you for being here. See you in the next meditation.
And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, from the book, How to Manipulate Everyone by the Rogue Hypnotist, the Controllers, and the Controlled.
The Controllers and the Controlled. A cult system, whatever name it gives to itself, is distinguished by a binary relationship between those I call the controllers and the controlled. All resources of the controlled must come under the control of the controllers to ensure the controllers' goals are achieved. The prime goal of controllers is control. All activities of a cult state must be directed toward gaining control, maintaining control, utilizing control to achieve cult objectives. All means of control must firstly be directed to the repatterning of the to-be controlled's minds. If this is not achieved in the first instance, all other phases of the cult plan are doomed to failure. So what type of a person is a controller anyway? I'm glad you asked. A brief overview of the psychopath. Now, I've been mentioning the psychopath. But what actually is a psychopath? They look human at first. They sound human at first. A psychopath actually isn't human at all, not by any definition of that word. You see, a psychopath has no soul. They have no conscience. A psychopath is pure ego. They often write their signatures in giant, thick lettering with clubbed, sadistic endings. Some are axe murderers, rapists, etc. But these tend to be the more stupid ones, with less self-control. The more intelligent ones are urbane and charming. They can be very funny indeed. At first, they use this quality to make you feel safe. It is easier to attack when your victim's guard is down. They often start the attack by subtly undermining your self-confidence. It is as though they know all your weak points, almost telepathically. They almost supernaturally know which buttons to press. They are deeply hierarchical creatures. High-status psychopaths are fawned upon and feared by their weaker underling psychopaths. They can spot each other in a crowd instantly. They like to form gangs, knowing there is always strength in numbers. They form what you might call secret psychopath unions. Most disturbingly, they have a spellbinding power, a natural ability to hypnotize real people, especially the more weak-minded. The high-functioning psychopaths are often very successful. They are top doctors, senior politicians, and chiefs of police, etc. They are top actors, celebrity chefs, sportsmen adored by millions. For the psychopath loves to be worshipped. Indeed, believes he is a more highly evolved species of human. They actually believe they are gods. If they have any belief system, it is me first. They are often atheistic nihilists. Many are obsessed with the occult. They are attracted to extreme political systems and religions, wherein they cause the most pain to real humans. But the truth is, you find them everywhere. They are the true cause of almost all the world's pain from the dawn of history to the present day. Often psychopaths disguise themselves as God-fearing, born-again Christian types, for they love nothing more than soiling innocence and destroying decency. They especially like to target young children as victims. But they may specialize in attacking young men and women, conning old people of their life savings, whilst posing as their best friend. Psychopaths are all narcissists. They worship themselves and believe others should do likewise. A psychopath loves nothing more than himself. He is incapable of love. It is wholly alien to him. Psychopaths like nothing more than loyal followers. They often do things to excess. They are violently sexually promiscuous. They take lots of so-called recreational drugs, often just to feel something. They are totally dead on the inside, you see. They are often alcoholics. Being evil makes you miserable. Booze can erase the pain of that, for a while. Any joy they experience originates in pain caused to others. They are addicted to it. But in order to get the hit, they have to do worse and worse things until the death spiral phase is reached. Psychopaths are physically, emotionally, and spiritually draining to be around. Psychopaths feed off of human pain. They are willing to utterly destroy anyone that gets in their way. The inbred and mutated half-Hurrian Egyptian pharaoh Akhenaten invented a self-worshipping religion called Atenism. Put an S in front of the A. This revolved, pun intended, around the supposed sun god Aten. Put an S in front of the A. Akhenaten's, shall we say, lifestyle was the basis of Freud's Oedipus complex. More on this in Volume 2. Psychopathic projection is one of the main modus operandi of the soulless ones. Psychopaths accuse any enemy that crosses their path of being a psychopath. Everything the psychopath does, he claims his enemy does. The psychopath uses the technique of gaslighting with great relish. When caught in the act, he will claim he is not doing anything bad, that it never happened, that you are mad or imagined it. I have used he during this section. There are many female psychopaths too. They are very vicious witches. Note, the biblical Hurrians also came from the Black Sea. Hurrian sounds remarkably similar to Aryan. Aryan cult control systems may have created what we call snobbery. The psychopath in politics. I will end this section with a quick examination of the psychopath in positions of power. A psychopath in power will act as a savior figure. All of them have messiah complexes. As they destroy, they claim they are saving. They are all authoritarian, Aryan. This behavior pattern is the key indicator that you have a political psycho on your hands. Another factor is the promotion of a doomsday cult mentality, a particular psychotheology concerning the end of the world, and ultimate fate of mankind. More on this later. Mocking the victim. Psychopaths, in politics and out, often perform a ritual called mocking the victim. This simply entails telling the victim what you intend to do to them. Hitler did this in Mein Kampf. He made quite clear what his plans were before he did what he did. Psychopaths, you see, have a weird sort of legality. If they warn you that they mean you harm, and you do not take action to stop this harm, it means to them that you consented, and they are now free to do with you as they please. This is akin to a vampire asking your permission to enter your house. When you say yes, well, that's all, folks. Very clever people hid knowledge of psychopaths in various world myths and fairy tales. The psychopath's response to challenge. Psychopaths like their orders to be followed without question. In a psychopathic environment, questions, per se, are regarded as bad things. Questions are discouraged, ignored, belittled. Strict obedience is enforced. Psychopaths can convince people to believe in total nonsense without any supporting evidence. Most importantly, if a psychopath's orders or point of view are challenged, they respond with anger, then with violence. Psychopaths cannot tolerate challenge of any kind. They simply seek to destroy it. More sophisticated psychopaths have greater patience and cunning. They sell such abusive behavior by saying in a nice tone that they are doing it for your own good. They may even crack a joke. They still want mindless obedience. New orders. Plato's Socrates said that a world order was simply everything present in the universe at a given time in history. Political psychopaths always promise their followers the dawn of a new order, Hitler's phrase, and a 1980s rock band. But when political cults take over a society/civilization, it always ends the same way. Destruction. The golden age mysteriously never manifests itself. The proposed quick-fix solutions make things worse. Things get worse and worse. Nothing works. Oppression is everywhere, until the inevitable collapse comes. If someone promises a world without problems, prepare for hell on earth. In closing, when seeking to prove someone a psychopath, I look for three things. The CCP factors, as I call them. Conning, controlling, pain. They enjoy conning and can't help but do it. They exist to con others. They love controlling real people in the most intricate, micromanaged way possible, because they despise nothing more than the idea of freedom. They love creating pain in real humans. It literally makes them orgasm. There is one thing they fear, more than anything else, being unmasked.
And that was a brief overview of the psychopath from How to Manipulate Everyone by the Rogue Hypnotist. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Ayn Rand's book, Return of the Primitive, Chapter 5, half of Chapter 5.
The Chicken's Homecoming. A microcosmic version of what is wrong with today's world, including the cause and the exact mechanics of how it got that way, was enacted at the annual business meeting of the Eastern Division of the American Philosophical Association on December 28, 1969. Like an old-fashioned morality play, the event had an awe-inspiring element of justice. It would be hard to find a group of men who had done more to deserve what they got. The central debate of the occasion was triggered by some philosophers, described only as radical, who demanded that the meeting pass a resolution they had drafted. The resolution condemned the war in Vietnam in blatantly Marxist terms, declaring that it is a direct consequence of America's foreign policy, whose basic aim is to make and keep a large part of the world safe for American enterprise, that American foreign aid, particularly in undeveloped countries, amounts to the exploitation of the peoples of these countries, and that it necessitates the suppression of popular rebellions. An allegedly conservative group opposed the resolution. According to the New York Times, December 29, 1969, the academics, including some of the nation's best-known thinkers, filled the grand ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria Hotel with hisses and shouts in debating the issue. While Vietnam was the ostensible subject of debate, the central issue was two conflicting views of the task of philosophy: that the discipline's job is to train minds and advance thought dispassionately and aloof from politics, and that philosophy should bring its talents to bear on the issues of the day. This is a correct summary of the state of today's philosophy. Note the nature of the false dichotomy, which we shall discuss later. The debate was symptomatic of the uneasiness of many young students and professors in recent years, who contend that philosophy has lost touch with American life, being concerned instead with sterile quibbles over abstractions. This is generosity on the part of the reporter. It is not over abstractions that today's philosophers are quibbling. It is a common saying that philosophy now devotes itself to the problems of philosophy, not the problems of men. How did the dispassionate mind trainers oppose the radicals? They did as well, and with the same results, as their former students do in comparable situations, such as the conservatives when opposing the liberals, or the liberals when opposing the socialists, or the socialists when opposing the communists, or college administrators when opposing campus thugs. They steadfastly abstained from mentioning any essentials or referring to any fundamental principles. First, they tried to resort to a typically modern weapon: evasion. The opponents of the resolution made an early attempt to postpone discussion of the issue indefinitely, writes the New York Times, and lost by a vote of 120 to 78. I hope, declared the leader of the radicals, that we are not going to construe ourselves as a narrow professional organization. Our duty as people must take priority over our alleged duty as professionals. This can only damage our association, declared a leader of the opposition. I plead with you as philosophers to suspend judgment on some of the horrendous things in this resolution. Ethics, apparently, is not part of philosophy, and in the face of a horrendous resolution, a philosopher must not attempt to discover the truth or falsehood of its allegations. He must not pass judgment, but suspend it. If such tactics are futile, even in the realm of practical politics, with 50 years of evidence to demonstrate the failure, what could they be expected to achieve in the realm of philosophy? Just exactly what they did achieve. The opponents of the radicals' resolution did not win, they did not walk out, they did not resign, they compromised. The meeting passed an amended resolution that kept the first and last paragraphs of the original virtually intact, but omitted all the rest. It omitted the Marxist evaluation of American foreign policy and condemned the war in Vietnam without reasons or explanations. In other words, it discarded Marxist theory, but accepted its product as if it were a self-evident primary requiring no proof or discussion. The quality and stature of the amendments may be gauged by the following. The first paragraph of the original resolution stated that the war in Vietnam constitutes a moral and political problem. The amendment changed it to a moral problem, in the hope that no one would accuse the PA of taking a political stand, even though the resolution deals with the war in Vietnam. The last paragraph of the original resolution read, "Therefore it is the sense of the American Philosophical Association that we oppose both the Vietnamization of the war and the claim that the United States has any right to negotiate the future of the Vietnamese people, and we advocate instead the total withdrawal from Vietnam of all American forces as fast as the boats and planes can carry them." The last paragraph of the amended resolution reads, "It is the sense of the Eastern Division of the American Philosophical Association that we oppose both the policy of bombing villages to compensate for partial withdrawal of U.S. troops and the claim that the U.S. has any right to negotiate the future of the Vietnamese people, and we advocate instead the total withdrawal from Vietnam of all American forces as soon as physically possible." Just as politicians feel it's safe to take a firm stand in favor of motherhood, so their equivalents in philosophy felt it safe to take a stand against the bombing of villages. The implication in their resolution that such bombing is not a military necessity, but a deliberate, senseless atrocity on the part of the U.S. would be clear to a schoolboy, but apparently not to modern philosophers. Nor would it occur to them that viewing the war in Vietnam as a moral problem and condemning the U.S. without a word about the nature, methods, and atrocities of the enemy is a moral obscenity, particularly in view of the fact that the U.S. has nothing to gain from that suicidal war and undertook it only in compliance with these same philosophers' morality of altruism. Apparently, for fear of having succeeded at creating confusion and being misunderstood, the author of the amended resolution wrote a letter to the editor of the New York Times, February 7, 1970, to correct its report. The story and headlines present the event as a victory of right wing over left, while in fact it was a victory for the moderate left. After all, the Putnam Resolution was passed, although with my moderating amendment. So it was, which made matters much worse for the American Philosophical Association, which is always the case when the moderates deal with moral issues, morality being a realm where no compromise is possible. An extra touch of grim justice, the author of the amended resolution had been a graduate philosophy student under one of the leaders of the conservative opposition. The original resolution was more honest than the amended one and more philosophical. It stated its theoretical base. That base, Marxism, is false as hell, but its very falsehood defeats it and works to protect the unwary. When people know the theoretical grounds of any given stand, they are able to check it, to judge, and to decide whether they agree or not. To name one's principles is to open one's declarations to serious critical appraisal. But the evasion of theory, the enunciation of arbitrary, inexplicable pronouncements, is an act of destruction that no Marxist theories could match. It destroys epistemology. It undercuts the principles of rationality, invalidates the processes of a civilized discussion, discards logic, and replaces it with the says you, says I method of communication, which the campus activists are using to great advantage. If you wonder how it came about that the American people were never given a chance to vote on the question of whether they want to adopt socialism, yet virtually the entire program of the Communist Manifesto has been enacted into law in this country, you have seen that process reenacted at a philosophical convention. To discard a theory, yet accept its product, to discard or to hide the Marxist means, but adopt and propagate its end, is contemptible, even for politicians. When philosophers do it, it amounts to a declaration that philosophy is dead and that it died of unemployment. By way of an autopsy, examine the false dichotomy mentioned earlier, the two conflicting views of the task of philosophy. One side holds that the task is to train minds and advance thought, and that politics is not philosophy's concern. The other side holds that it is, and that philosophy must deal with the issues of the day. What subject is omitted from this dichotomy? Politics, in the full, exact, philosophical meaning of the term. Politics is the study of the principles governing the proper organization of society. It is based on ethics, the study of the proper values to guide man's choices and actions. Both ethics and politics necessarily have been branches of philosophy from its birth. Philosophy is the science that studies the fundamental aspects of the nature of existence. The task of philosophy is to provide man with a comprehensive view of life. This view serves as a base, a frame of reference for all his actions, mental or physical, psychological or existential. This view tells him the nature of the universe with which he has to deal, metaphysics, the means by which he is to deal with it, i.e., the means of acquiring knowledge, epistemology, the standards by which he is to choose his goals and values in regard to his own life and character, ethics, and in regard to society, politics. The means of concretizing this view is given to him by aesthetics. It is not a question of whether man chooses to be guided by a comprehensive view. He is not equipped to survive without it. The nature of his consciousness does not permit him an animal's percept-guided, range-of-the-moment form of existence. It is not a question of whether man chooses to be guided by a comprehensive view. He is not equipped to survive without it. The nature of his consciousness does not permit him an animal's percept-guided, range-of-the-moment form of existence. No matter how primitive his actions, he needs to project them into the future and to weigh their consequences. This requires a conceptual process, and a conceptual process cannot take place in a vacuum. It requires a context. Man's choice is not whether he needs a comprehensive view of life, but only whether his view is true or false. If it is false, it leads him to act as his own destroyer.
And that was the first half of Chapter 5 from Ayn Rand's book, The Return of the Primitive, The Anti-Industrial Revolution, and it is read by Bernadette Dunn. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that socialism is antisocial.